Hi, my name is Rob Kellogg. Today we're going to talk about generator use. Now, a lot of times when we get on a job site for the first time, we don't have any tied in electrical energy sources, and the electricians haven't gotten there for whatever reason. So we're going to have an alternate means of electrical service. And in doing that, a lot of portable generators are brought into the job site and utilized accordingly. So they're usually gas or diesel run, and they provide that throughout the entire project. One of the challenges, though, if you bring in a generator and utilize it, we got to make sure we cover a few significant issues. They're not minor, but they're definitely not major either. And when we utilize the generators, make sure that we're following these protocols and looking for these issues at first hand. So setup is your first concern. One, where are you going to be working at? So you want to make sure that the setup is close enough for you to be able to tap into that energy source without running a whole bunch of electrical cord, extension cord afterwards to provide you that access. So minimize your distance as reasonable as possible and look at those setup requirements because you may have a lot of limitations. Especially when the job site is brand new as far as elevation, transitions, flat work, things of that nature. Stability is key. So when you do put your generators on a surface, we have to understand that these machines will vibrate consistently and throughout their use. So the vibration will impact wherever it is that you put the material onto, the equipment onto, and cause it to sink, potentially get to a point where it could be dangerous to utilize, either through tipping or submersion into the materials, whatever that may be. So make sure you have a good stable surface in which to place your generators for long periods of time, and that they're stable and able to hold the weight of the actual generator. And generators come in many different sizes. I mean, as small as hand carried generator systems, all the way up to where you need a significant towing truck in order to get them on site. And they can even be craned in if necessary. So look at what your needs are when it comes to that stability process. It can be as simple as a rock platform all the way up to steel supported concrete and anywhere in between. So just evaluate that necessarily before you get started. And also take into consideration the weather conditions and how they're going to impact not just the accessibility of that generator from where you're working, but also protecting you for the usage during those exposures. So if you do have a waterproofed interior or a watershed interior, you got a roof on it that's going to take water away from the interior portion of it, you still may have to deal with going out to the generator to start it, plug in, and utilize it. So make sure you have good weatherization protection for that generator when you can. They are designed primarily to be used outside, but, they can be hazardous if you don't utilize them well, which takes us into the use application. So once you get it all stabilized, set up, and make sure it's working well, make sure that you have a good GFCI system on there to protect you from any leak energy sources that are coming out of that particular outlet. Now, GFCIs are explained in a whole different presentation, so I encourage you to go look at that if you haven't already done that, and how they work and how they utilize. But make sure that you have some GFCI protection on every external extension cord that you utilize, whether it's from the actual generator itself, or you may need to add one just to make sure. And then grounding. Ground is extremely important. So we have to have some kind of grounding strap or grounding rod according to the manufacturer specifications. Now, before you start using that generator, that is part of the setup process. You want to make sure that the grounding rod or grounding strap is established according to the generator's needs. But no generator should be without some kind of grounding mechanism. I do believe it's 3,500 watts and below are not required to have it, but it would be my recommendation to ground everything just to make sure. But you start getting into the bigger boys as far as generators go, you definitely need a grounding rod, a grounding strap, or a combination of the two. Again, your manufacturer specifications should give you that guidance. Please follow it to the letter, especially when it comes to electrical use. So load requirements. When we're getting into the demand need, whatever it is that you are running, look at what tools are going to be utilized at any particular time, peak time. So if everybody's using everything at once, you have to take into consideration what that load is going to be. Simply put, if you have a watt generator that is giving you the capability of that generator, let's say some of your portable stuff. I personally have a 9200 watt system that does a peak and then runs stably at 7500 watts. How do I do that? Well, a watt is, simply put, you take the watt number, in this case we'll use 7500, and then you divide it by the voltage. So if you're using a 120 volt system and you got a 7500 watt, doing calculations, simply put, get your calculator out, and at 7,500 watts, divide that by 120, which is your volts. I can produce up to, for that machine, I can produce up to 62 amps. And that's what you wanted to measure, is what the tool usage amperage is, and make sure you're using the right voltage outlet as well. Many generators have multiple voltage potential. 20 amp systems, 30 amp systems are on there. You have 120 volt, 220, 480. Can get as high as that depending on the need. So your amperage and your voltage are important to understand, but if you give a watt generation parameter, this is how you determine what you're working with. So if you're going to plug it into a 120 volt, you divide that wattage by the 120, and that's what gives you your amperage. So you look at the amperage needs on your tools and then do that calculation, simple math addition, and don't go over that at peak times. So with anything else that might come along with generator use, I can't recommend enough to break out the generator's user manual before you even tap into it. It might be somebody else's, a rental, a general contractor puts it out there, and you're actually borrowing the energy source. Make sure you understand the use of that machine before you start plugging your stuff in. If there's any questions you might have, definitely ask your supervisor and anybody else in charge of that particular machine. And always request the owner's manual. It should be attached to it. So if it's not, get online, look that stuff up. Those machines and those companies actually have those available at a simple research for a Google search. So if you have any questions, any concerns, please give us a call here at Ultimate Group. We're here to help you. And as always, safety is not a mindset, state of mind. You guys have a good day.